The rise and fall of Diablo 4. It's a 30-minute video. It's going to be a while.
On June 6th of 2023, Diablo 4 officially launched, and it was an instant home run success. Twitch was booming, the concurrent player base peaked at almost 7
Source? I'm pretty sure these numbers are not right.
million players,
I don't think so.
long queue times, and celebrities partook in the ride. Everybody
These celebrity collaborations make literally no sense. No one should ever do them. It's a waste of money.
thought this was the game they were going to call home for a while. Now, there are as little as 400 people watching Diablo 4 on Twitch, players are forced to complete world bosses and events completely on their own, and player population dropped.
By the way, I also haven't played Diablo in like, in however many weeks. I haven't played it in a long time.
Over 99%.
Also, source. I don't think these numbers are actually correct. I think this is an extrapolation from something, because Blizzard doesn't publish their numbers. Publishing their numbers would be bad. No one wants to publish their numbers anymore. It's a bad idea.
The economy between Eternal and Seasonal realms have been destroyed by rampant bugs. Season 1 content was an absolute disaster, and Season 2 looks to be the exact same.
Apparently not. Apparently Season 2 is going to have more, but we'll see. The dev stream is happening in like 5 days. Apparently there's going to be 2 dev streams, both like 2 hours long. There's apparently a lot. We'll see.
How did this happen? Where did this once beloved franchise go wrong?
In
And what
Diablo
will it
3.
take to fix it? Today I'm going to explore the timeline of Diablo 4 from pre-release to what the game is now. Grab a cup
Polish?
of coffee and settle in, because this is the complete timeline of how Diablo 4 became the biggest disappointment in gaming history.
Is it the biggest disappointment? Probably not. No Man's Sky was real bad when it released. I don't know. I'd have
Of
to
course,
think
I want
about
to give a
that.
big thank you to the YouTube subscription members who keep this dream alive by directly supporting the channel. We truly couldn't do it without you, and we'll talk a little bit more about this later. Now, ever since the late 90s, Blizzard Entertainment has been a staple in the gaming world, making some of the most popular and beloved gaming franchises of all time. The Warcraft trilogy, StarCraft, Diablo, Hearthstone,
Big
Overwatch,
true.
and their most popular...
Remember the days when Blizzard came in and dominated every single genre it made? It literally went into a genre, and the genre became a Diablo-like. Those were the days.
the World of Warcraft. The Diablo franchise in particular was a real heavy
Look at this. This is what Diablo was all about. I love this.
hitter. It embodied the true heart and soul of what the company stood for at the time. An incredible RPG game.
I've said this many times before, but I played Diablo 1 on a PlayStation 1. You couldn't save. We spent like a very long, I have no idea how long it actually was because I was a wee young lad, but my entire family was trying to beat the Butcher until I finally realized I became the big brain gamer and I realized I could just trap him behind the bars and just shoot him. Because even back then I only played a warrior and I never knew you could use bows. But then I equipped a bow and it worked. It was great. Which, by the way, another thing that has just been completely removed from the game. Why can I not use a bow? Even a bad bow.
gaming experience that is a mix of fantasy and dark gothic horror that many people across the world
It was so good.
just couldn't put down.
It was so good.
Diablo 2 released in the year
So
2000
good.
and had a profound impact on the gaming world and revolutionized
The best class right
ARPG
here.
genre. The social aspect alone fostered a sense of community among players, paving the way for future
That's a lie. I played completely alone. I never played with anyone. Actually, that's also a lie. I played with my cousin a little bit, but mostly alone.
online
Diablo 2 was
multiplayer
peak.
games. And if you didn't want to play online, you didn't have to. The game left a permanent mark on the gaming world by introducing multiplayer features, innovative gameplay mechanics, expansion packs, and DLCs that influenced countless titles that followed it. This iconic game remains relevant even 2 decades after its initial release, leaving people hooked to this day. By the time Diablo 3 went into production, a whole new
I sleep.
development team was in
I
place.
sleep.
And in many eyes, this time period was the beginning of the end for Blizzard Entertainment.
I don't like Diablo 3.
With the game finally launching on May 15th, 2012, the infamous Error 37 plagued the internet, leaving countless players in limbo on launch day.
This is a message to the people.
Oh, I remember this video.
Can't even play the fucking game. This is bullshit. This is bullshit. I paid money, cash money, dollar money, cash money.
The auction house doing
Those
more
are-
harm
those-
than good.
those were
gave you
the- what the hell
opportunity
did I
as a
just do?
player to spend hundreds of
I just closed
dollars of
something
your
off.
hard-earned real-life money on items
Hold on.
in the game. And this benefited Blizzard greatly because they took a $1 cut on every successful
Those were the good old
auction.
days of YouTube.
And with the game's insane levels of progressive difficulty, it meant that if you wanted to progress in the game effectively, the perfect gear was just in wallet's reach for nearly 2 years until it was.
Which, by the way, I literally don't see anyone who greenlit this and thought it was a good idea. Like, clearly it was meant to make money, but how is no one like, wait, hold on. This makes no sense. This is also what we have in WoW, by the way.
Was finally removed. It took many years of innovation to bring Diablo 3 to where it is today. DLCs, seasons being implemented, greater rifts, and non-stop updates for nearly 10 years. A game with a disastrous launch and some fundamental problems with its core design has grown into one of Blizzard's most long-lasting and beloved games that is currently being played and viewed as much...
Yeah, I've seen this picture a lot. It's like, soon, if you look at, oh no, that was with Overwatch. The joke was going around that Overwatch's score on Metacritic is like slowly reaching 1, so we're just gonna be back to Overwatch 1, it's no big deal.
As Diablo 4. Now, with 3 games in the franchise under its belt, Blizzard was looking to announce Diablo 4 at BlizzCon. But with the horrific Diablo Immortal announcement at BlizzCon 2018...
Is he gonna play the clip?
Android and iOS, we don't have any plans at the moment to do PC.
Is he gonna play the clip?
Do you guys not have phones?
Yeah, you guys all have phones, right?
Trying to build excitement
He's
for
not gonna
yet
play the
another
clip.
Blizzard game is something that seems very grim in today's world. The once king of kings in game development has fallen very far from what they once were. They're hoping their heavy-hitter franchise like Diablo can once again spark life into the cold, bitter shell Blizzard is today. It all started with a grand announcement at BlizzCon, building hype and excitement amongst the fans.
Okay, let's be real. This cinematic is absolutely peak Diablo. This cinematic was so good. It was perfect. It was so good.
Easily being one of their greatest cinematics to date,
This was
the
insane.
Diablo 4 announcement trailer left fans excited and happy to see Blizzard
This cinematic was like 8 minutes long too. It was so long. It just kept going on, going and going, and I was like, man.
attempt and return to their truly dark and gothic roots of Diablo 2. Once the
Imagine Berserk done like this. Imagine Berserk with this sort of CG, just the whole series. Man, I'd lose my mind. I don't even want to think about how much money it would cost. But man.
announcement trailer dropped, Blizzard was officially on the clock from the fans. And then, disaster struck.
More than 1,500 Activision Blizzard employees are calling for the resignation of the company's CEO, Bobby Kotick.
That Kotick had known about things, and he also had threatened to have an assistant killed at one point.
The company began to truly unravel midway through the development in
This ain't it.
2021, with a major lawsuit against Activision Blizzard being filed for a near 2-year running investigation into the company from the state of California. Between the sexual allegations,
Which, by the way,
unfair and
at this point, Blizzard was unraveling. Everything was going wrong. If you were in the WoW community, WoW was probably in the worst state it had been in forever. Everything was just bad. Absolutely nothing was going Blizzard's way. And this was just like, this was the thing that made people just completely give up on Blizzard. I think there are a lot of people who, after this happened, will never even consider going back to Blizzard games.
unethical treatment
It's
toward
sad.
women in the workplace,
Very sad.
and more dark, evil secrets being surfaced, hundreds of employees at Blizzard walk out to protest against this frat boy culture, and even more quit or step down from the company, leaving everything in disarray. And Diablo
Warcraft 3 was
4
also released,
no
yeah.
exception to this. The ongoing sexual harassment lawsuit took a major toll on Blizzard, and the company bled high-quality developers and talent rapidly. In Blizzard's earning report for investors...
To be fair, J. Allen Brack, I would be very surprised if he didn't step down after something like this. That's usually just what happens. They just literally let go the president, and that's it. That's how they solve the problem. You know?
They clearly stated that it has become apparent that some of the Blizzard content planned for the next year will benefit from more development time to reach its full potential. They also said they need extra time to complete production and continue growing their creative resources to support the titles after launch. Though not stated explicitly, the wording in the report implies that neither Overwatch
It was a
2
sacrificial
or
lamb,
Diablo
basically,
4 will launch before 2023. So with no other option, Diablo 4 was officially delayed. For a while during this time, Blizzard did what they do best: feed and prey off the nostalgia of previous games from their—
Which, by the way, I am completely fine with. People say nostalgia bad, stop remaking games. No, if people like them, people keep playing them, good. I would not be surprised if more people are playing Classic WoW right now than there are playing retail. Is that bad? I don't think so. And yes, that is feeding off largely, not completely. We've talked about this many times. Classic has nothing to do with nostalgia. Classic is just a very, very good game. But to an extent, there is still a nostalgia element. I don't think it's a bad thing. I don't think it's a bad thing at all.
their fans. The
It's
nostalgia
just a good
of
game.
the great times this company once had. They went down the line and re-released titles of all their beloved games. Classic World of Warcraft, which led to what is now the re-release of The Wrath of the Lich King. Warcraft Reforged, which was a convoluted disaster.
This was a disaster, yes, but they also re-released Diablo 2, and Diablo 2 is peak. The only problem I've heard with Diablo 2 is that it doesn't have modding. That is like the only thing I think people are kind of sad with it. Other than that, Diablo 2 Remake was perfect.
And finally, Diablo 2
Yeah.
Resurrected. They knew
This was
that by
perfect.
releasing these games, it would make them hundreds of millions of dollars and give them more time to try and develop something new that the fans would come to love once again. But time and time after, they fail to follow through with that promise and always come up short. With the new day and age of Blizzard's monetization, where they
Oof, look at this. Oof. Oof. Oh, he's a WoW player. Look at him. He has an upgrade. Nice.
squeeze everything they can take, it finally took its toll. Classic era of World of Warcraft having expansion pack passes, character boosts, and now a new WoW token across expansions where you can literally buy gold with real life money. Overwatch 2 being a copy of Overwatch 1 with egregious monetization and broken promises of new content.
Also, I don't think this is a problem. I don't. I think this is better than having loot boxes. I think there's a reason why they removed loot boxes. Because they were forced to by the government.
That
by
never
the
came to
EU.
light. Warcraft Reforged being a reskin with even more broken promises. At this point in time, it seems as if the company continues to make the wrong decisions based on greed and simply takes advantage of its player base across every game they've ever developed. We had no choice. The only thing we can do now is hope that Diablo 4 doesn't follow this sad and beat down pattern. And for many others, including myself, this would be Blizzard's—
Also, this is a lie. No, it's not. No, it's not. Anyone going on a Diablo subreddit and making a post like this, they're lying. They're lying. No shot they're gonna type out all of this, be like, Diablo 4 is my last Blizzard game. No, it's not. They're gonna release another new game and you're gonna be back.
last chance at repairing what is a betrayed and broken
Source. I'm one of them.
relationship between us and what used to be a magical company.
So stop holding out hope that Blizzard is going to come back. Everyone who founded Blizzard,
seen this video
all
many
the
times.
principles that Blizzard was founded on are dead. They've been desecrated. Let Blizzard go. That's my main message, is let Blizzard go. Appreciate what was created back when it was done. Stop holding out hope that it's going to come back, because it's not.
Hope. Hope is all that remains.
Yeah, surely we're just a month away from Blizzard, from BlizzCon, right? We're going to see Classic Plus. We're going to see the new WoW expansion. We're going to see a new expansion for Diablo 4, and we're going to see the new survival game. And all of them are going to be great. I need to make a bingo, by the way. We're going to do that sometime soon. We're going to make a bingo for BlizzCon. And it's going to be universal W's all around, surely. Surely.
In August of 2022, Blizzard announced their Diablo 4 alpha playtest, running for friends and family of Blizzard employees. Jason Schreier, a Bloomberg reporter, states on Twitter, "A bunch of people are playing an early build of Diablo 4 right now, thanks to a friends and family alpha test.
Yeah,
These players
early.
are under NDA, but I'm hearing mostly positive buzz."
Yeah, early on there was a lot of very, very positive sentiment around it, and I think that is because the early game is really good. The reason why Diablo 4 is a bad game is because there's nothing to do when you're like 30 hours in. You like complete world tier 3 and 4, and that's it. Not even 4, right? Because 4 is the thingy. There's just nothing to do in the game. That's the problem. You know, the first curve is very, very good. And I still think the campaign is very, very, very good. I think the campaign was excellent.
Schreier also noted that there are no microtransactions in the alpha build, so players won't have much of an idea what to expect from monetization. Although, Blizzard has previously confirmed that small Diablo 4 purchases will be cosmetic only, aside from larger story expansions. Months later, the Diablo 4 endgame beta invites go out in October of 2022, and the playtest officially begins. The playtest itself...
By the way, side note, the fact that like they're selling microtransactions as many as there are now in like a game that could be bought for $100 is ridiculous.
Gave lucky testers a chance to go up against Lilith.
Especially because there'll be expansions, which, you know, like normally I would say, okay, you need to fund development, sure, but there will be expansions, and you're funding expansions by selling the expansion.
In the post-campaign sanctuary and test out Diablo 4's endgame modes and instances. This included the Whispers of the Dead system, the progressively challenging Nightmare dungeons, region-wide Hell Tides, the Fields of Hatred PvP, and the Paragon board progression system. This was the only endgame test they hosted before launch, with enough time to make changes. And this is going to be important and a big conversation topic later. A couple months after that, a massive article comes out on the Washington Post stating that Diablo 4 developers are...
I hate to say it, this has nothing to do with Blizzard. This has nothing to do with Blizzard. This is 90% of game companies at this point. But there are very, very few who have made an actual conscious effort to limit some. I believe Rockstar made a very, very big push to avoid crunch time. This happens with everything. I don't think this is a very Blizzard thing, but obviously Blizzard is a part of the problem.
Working overtime to meet the release deadline, and it also includes their own staff, stating there is mismanagement and disturbing script changes that might contribute to delays. It's a process that's been plagued by mismanagement and employees being promised perks for working late evenings and weekends outside of regular work hours, but employees stating they were simply negligible perks, such as a $25 DoorDash credit if they worked more than 10 hours a day. They described a mounting sense of dissatisfaction and malice amongst employees as they endured leadership change constantly, and that the Diablo team has been losing talent for over a year as
I think this is the biggest thing, by the way. I think this is something people don't talk about nearly enough. The fact that Blizzard as a whole is bleeding talents. Like, everything that happened, especially with the lawsuit, I can't even think about how much people they've just been bleeding behind the scenes. Because we only hear about the big names. You know, someone big departs that's been there for like 13 years. For 2 weeks, everyone's like, oh, that's sad. Well, anyway, think about how many like day-to-day people they've just been bleeding. Because back in the day, when you said, I want to work at Blizzard, that was something to like aspire to. Blizzard has lost that. Blizzard has absolutely lost that. I don't think there are a lot of people who say, you know what, really want to work at Blizzard right now. I don't think so. I think there are still some, still holding out hope, but I don't think there are many, especially because their pay is not even competitive.
Employees look for more competitive wages and better work conditions elsewhere. Activision Blizzard CEO Bobby Kotick attributed the company's stock price drop to the game delay of Diablo 4 and Overwatch 2 rather than the ongoing sexual harassment lawsuit filed against the...
Well... well, I mean... Why did... I love this. Stocks dropped because delays. What caused the delays?
The company...
He is right. Exactly. He is right. But, you know.
July of 2021. He quotes, I think what affected the stock price more than the sexual harassment investigation is pushing out the release dates of Overwatch.
And by the way, if you are someone who wanted to quickly make money at Blizzard, you probably like Bobby Kotick. Because he made you a lot of money. The worst part about Bobby Kotick is that he generated record profits. In the short term, most likely, unless Blizzard recovers now that they're under Microsoft, but he made you a ton of money. He is a horrible human being, but he did make a lot of people a lot of money. And you can't deny that, unfortunately.
2 and Diablo 4. His comments frustrated some of the company's developers who felt he was blaming them unfairly, stating,
Of course.
"We felt very much like he just drove the bus over on top of us." As you can see, the relationship and chemistry within the company seems to begin crumbling. A person familiar with senior leadership found the performance shares unnecessary and even destructive, arguing that they incentivize leadership to cut corners, compromise, and ship products that are not ready to be released instead of doing what is the best thing.
Exactly. Best for long-term value creation. This is exactly what I mean. The thing with Kotick, I don't even know how you say his name, is that, yes, Blizzard did hit record profits under his leadership, if you can call it leadership. I don't think the word leader applies in this situation, but we'll run with it. Problem is, he destroyed long-term value.
For the long-term value creation. Employees state they just went to work every day and got angry, either because the tools were slow or they simply did not like the game that much. They also stated
This is very good, by the way. You go to work and you just get angry. This is probably actually what a lot of people do, but, you know, it's probably not healthy, especially in a creative industry.
that it wasn't just employees that left, it was many with institutional knowledge and decades of experience, leaving brand new employees and developers brought in from elsewhere to fill in. Diablo 4's unannounced internal release date went from 2021 to December of 2022, then got pushed back further to April 2023, and then finally June of 2023. A former employee stated, "We're at the point where they're not willing to delay the game anymore. So we all just have to go along and figure out how much..."
You know what makes me scared? You know what makes me really, really scared? I'm just going through this again in my head.
Unannounced internal release date went from 2021.
Can you imagine the state that Diablo 4 launched in? If it had launched 2 years before, what would have it even been? 2 years of development.
To December of 2022, then got pushed back further to
Back in the day, multiple games were developed in 2 years.
April 2023, and then finally June of 2023. A former employee stated, "We're at the point where they're not..."
Almost as if those dates line up perfectly with fiscal quarters. Well, of course they do. That's just the norm.
"Not willing to delay
You gotta pump up those numbers.
the game anymore. So we all just have to go along and figure out how much we're willing to..."
You know what I want to do now? This gets me very, very... You know what I want to do now? Someone needs to go back. Someone needs to go back to all of these, like June 2021. We need to look at those fiscal quarters and what happened with monetization in other games. What happened with monetization in WoW, for example? Because you're right. Clearly, when you announce a game like this, that creates a expectation for that fiscal quarter. And because you don't want to, like, undersell too much, maybe they tried pumping up numbers in different games.
to hurt ourselves to make sure the game gets released in a good enough state. To help Diablo 4 get...
Remember when with Blizzard, we'll release it when it's ready? Good enough? Who says that?
over the finish line, Activision Blizzard enlisted industry veterans such as Rod Ferguson. Rod would hold weekly Zoom meetings known as Rodcasts, which during them he would talk about celebrities he's met and movies he enjoys.
You know what? This is probably true and I like that. That's funny.
Employees felt that not much actually came out of these discussions.
By the way, I do think that to a certain extent this is perfectly fine. This is getting to know your team. I think this is fine. This is building repertoire with the people you're working with. I think this is fine. It really depends on how much of it there was. You know, obviously we don't have any concrete information, but if this was just the start, I think it's fine. I think it is.
Stating, to me, he came off as a bit of a clout chaser about where he came from, like Gears of War. We all thought he was gonna come in and fix the game. And when nothing happened, that's when you started to see this massive turnover. The Blizzard Entertainment company that was once so dedicated to quality and putting out the best product they possibly can is currently rushing out Diablo 4 in a good enough state, with employees and team members who don't get along, and leaders who are poor at taking care of their team members. All of this inside of an environment that is polluted with greed and numbers more than anything. With launch just a few months away, Diablo 4 is looking grim. On February 21st, the developers officially released the Inside the World of Sanctuary video, where they had many developers speak upon the art direction, environment, monsters.
The art direction is peak. Diablo 4 looks like I want Diablo to look like. It's still... Maybe it's because it's brought into the modern realm, and it just doesn't have that vibe. I still think Diablo 2 looks better. I do. I genuinely think Diablo 2 Resurrected looks better. I don't know what it is about it. I like Diablo 2 more, both in terms of the vibe as well as how it looks. But Diablo 4 looks good. It looks infinitely better than 3. It's not even close.
Monsters, gameplay innovations, and world.
And I'm not even talking about just like raw graphical fidelity. I don't even care about that much. I'm talking about direction.
Building. They made promises and stated they wanted to bring the game back toward Diablo 2.
We wanted to bring Diablo 4 artistically more back towards like Diablo 2, the much darker style.
Yes.
And they also emphasized non-repetitive gameplay features.
So you never feel like you're always doing the same thing.
Guess they forgot about Nightmare Dungeons.
Pacing is always a little bit different.
On March 1st, they released a video showing the
It is definitely a little bit different, but just a little bit.
gameplay trailer for the beta early access of Diablo 4, announcing that you could play the game on March 17th through March 19th if you pre-purchase the $90 Digital Deluxe or $100 Ultimate Edition of the game. The $100 Ultimate Edition gives you the advantage to play up to 4 days early over everyone else. The accelerated...
Which, by the way, I also don't care about this. I don't. I think it's dumb. I think it's stupid. I think no one should do it, but I don't care about it. This changes nothing.
Seasonal Battle Pass unlock, mounts, cosmetics, emotes, and even rewards for their other Blizzard games such as...
Yeah, I don't care about any of this. The fact that a $100 game gives you, like, weird stuff, it's stupid, but who cares? Like, it's not gonna change anything. Like, who cares about these mount skins? Has anyone actually changed how their mount looks? Probably not.
Craft, Diablo Immortal, and Diablo 3. By this point, it is very well known that Diablo 4 was going to have a battle pass that was cosmetic only, and a big reward for buying this set of editions was a small boost through the battle pass.
Yeah,
It's
I don't care
important to
about this.
note that the battle pass
I
was
don't.
not available until the launch of Season 1, which didn't come until a month and a half after the game's launch.
They were talking about how different areas had different armors and weapons, so you were incentivized to not farm this, just the same dungeon over and over again. Well, yeah, but like fundamentally, that's what the game makes you do, you know? If you want to be very efficient, and they knew that, you know? It's like the same thing with bots in WoW. People talk about it's so hard to fix, but you go to like a single location, it's clearly bots there, you know? It's kind of like, it doesn't really matter what their direction was, if the problem is blatant.
The early access weekend for Diablo 4 arrived, and the game was in the hands of the public, allowing you to go up to level 25. This weekend was only available to players who have pre-ordered the Digital Deluxe Edition, and you could play as the Barbarian, Rogue, or Sorcerer. It only allows you to play through Diablo 4's prologue in one zone, and that is Fractured Peaks. Once again, no endgame testing. At first, the servers were plagued with horrendous queue times and error codes. A simple explanation is that there is a repeating cycle going on where players would sit in a sometimes over hour-long queue, finally get logged into the game, to only then get disconnected and be...
If only you could play it in offline mode, huh? If only. And imagine if a test could have been played in offline mode, and you could have actually given feedback to the developer because you would have actually been playing the game. Truly incredible.
Be put back in an even longer queue after about 5 to 10 minutes of playing. This continued through most of the night.
That said, though, if you're playing a live service game, you know this is coming. You know this is coming. This is just part of the experience.
Until Blizzard put out a patch that seemingly fixed the problem. This angered many people because they spent additional money to play that said early access weekend, and it started to raise some eyebrows in the community. Overall, though, from a gameplay perspective, people were relatively happy with Diablo 4 as a game so far. But of course, there were concerns, and there were a few in particular that stood out to the community. And like a dagger coated in poison, issues that seemingly never went away. Some of these include that there isn't anything in Diablo 4 that's redefining what an ARPG can be. Tedious grinds that...
Which I also think is fine. I don't think it needed to reinvent the wheel. I think it just needed to be a good game, which fundamentally it sort of is, but the end game, like the renown grind, like we talked about it forever and it's getting fixed. But can someone explain who thought re-grinding things every season was a good idea? Who wants to do that? I don't think anyone wants to do that. And the funniest thing is that they allow you to skip the campaign. Literally the best part of the game, they're like, yeah, sure, skip. The thing where you run around the map and just collect dots, yeah, we're gonna make you do that. Why? Why would you do that?
You're forced to do and aren't even fun the first time, including Renown, Altars of Lilith, Waypoints, and instead of it being fun challenges, it was
all of them are now fixed though. It's no longer a thing.
Simply a Google search to find the location and
very exciting. Yes, I used this map, this exact map, I think.
Run around and collect them all. The UI across the board needed work, being forced to play online and having no offline mode, worried player bases about server stability, and it felt like Diablo 4 wasn't created with the same heart as Diablo 1 and 2 were. Little did they know, it only got much worse moving forward. The open beta weekend arrived, allowing everybody openly to play the game, and all 5 classes up to level 25. Immediately, players are noticing the difference in power between the Druid and the Necromancer, and coming to the conclusion that classes like the Barbarian and the
Is the meme gonna be in here? I want to see the meme.
Behind significantly in terms of kill speed, unlike the other classes leveling. The balance was so bad about the Druid that memes were being...
This was so good. Let me move my face. Like... This was so good. I forget what this guy's name is, but this was so good with the hoodie.
Made, and the class was nothing but a laughingstock.
For 17 damage.
Oh, what a... This is so good.
Players feel as though that the game is missing key features such as the gem tab, skill loadouts, more bank storage, inventory filters, and more quality of life features that are widely seen across gaming. Between the issues with the
fact that you can't see it because my face is in front of it, but the fact that you don't have WASD in the game, why? Why would you do that?
Early access and open beta weekends, players...
Yeah, luckily I only play a Barbarian, so I don't care. By the way, I'm probably not gonna play a Barbarian for Season 2. I want to try a Wizard. I want to be a Fire Wizard, I think. Probably gonna be a Fire Wizard. We'll see what happens.
Are starting to believe that the game is poorly developed, and there is a lot of fine-tuning that needs to be done. Other than that, the base game of combat animations and story seemed...
I know they've never had WASD, but that doesn't matter, because it's just a good system. I know they've never had it.
Good enough for now. After the open beta weekends, the official Diablo team releases the Into the Endgame Developer Update video, breaking down everything the game has to offer once you reach the end game, and developers made incredibly bold promises that were sadly never delivered upon.
Brand new activities that provide meaningful progression, no matter their playstyle.
There's going to never be an absence of something to do.
Paragon Board is a place where we allow you to have a lot more depth, a lot more customization, many more options as you go. There's over...
I don't know if this is a hot take. I think the base skill tree and the Paragon system look like things that have been developed by 2 entirely different teams. Because the skill tree, it looks big, but it is excruciatingly simple. The Paragon board, you open it, you kind of get spooked. They don't jive together in my brain at all. It feels weird.
120 dungeons to play through and find in Diablo 4, and any one of them can become a nightmare dungeon.
We later found out that this was simply not true, being that there was only roughly 20 nightmare dungeons in a rotation at
that
a
doesn't
time,
surprise me.
forcing you to do the same ones over and over again. A few days later, the Diablo 4 team announces they are making significant changes to character classes.
I wish they just move like some of the... like just level them out a little bit, you know? Because the skill tree right now is kind of boring. I wish they just moved some of those like more impactful things to maybe the skill tree from the Paragon board and made the Paragon board a bit smaller and a bit less... like I feel like the Paragon board is fine, but it just has too many boards. You know? It's weird. Skill twig. Very, very good point. It's not a skill tree, it's a skill twig. That is the best way of putting it. Because there is no branching choice. Really. It just goes down.
Classes, dungeon design, UI changes, and more. This leaves people very excited that the developers are listening to player feedback and are excited for the future. Through the last few months before launch, the Diablo 4 developers assure us that they're going back to their roots of Diablo 2.
Well, the initial direction was Diablo 2.
The fantasy of a dark, gothic medieval world.
Darker and grittier, and Diablo 2 is kind of the inspiration.
We wanted to bring Diablo 4 artistically.
I don't think anyone's complaining about the art. I think everyone likes the art generally. I don't know why we're focusing on the art that much.
More back towards like Diablo 2.
Have we heard this story before? Is this something that Blizzard is doing once again to tug on our nostalgia? Is history going to repeat itself like it did?
I'm gonna be honest, I don't think going back to what the series actually was is tugging on nostalgia. I think that is just like realizing that your direction was wrong.
Did with Warcraft Reforged, Overwatch, and World of Warcraft Classic.
I'll check it later,
The only thing
yeah.
left to do now is hope what they say is true and await launch day. Before you know it, the internet is absolutely slammed with Diablo 4 marketing. Whether it be the KFC collaboration, the non-stop Megan Fox promotions, pre-launch dinner parties with big names in the gaming industry, the Diablo 4 cathedral painting in France, the whole...
This was badass. This painting in France, like all of these influencer things, I sleep. Okay, the New York billboard thing, that is also really, really cool. But the painting in the France cathedral, that was so cool.
Whether it be the KFC collaboration, the non-stop Megan...
By the way, I don't even want to think about how much money this cost.
Big names in the gaming industry, the Diablo 4 cathedral painting in France, the Halsey Diablo 4 song, and even a launch live-action trailer.
Can you imagine how much budget was allocated to purely marketing? It's insane to me.
They also announced the Diablo 4 hardcore leveling competition, where the first 1,000 users to reach level 100 on hardcore will be eligible to have their battle tag engraved on a physical statue of Lilith on the Blizzard campus. Blizzard held nothing back in wanting all eyes of the world on Diablo 4, and they knew this launch was going to be...
I keep saying it, I think a lot of these things are complete wastes of money that no one cares about. Like, literally, no one who's actually going to probably play the game will care about those things beyond 5 seconds. I don't understand what's with companies nowadays wanting to pour money into these things that just do not matter for the product. Like, Blizzard is big enough that they don't need to take up every single marketing spot known to man. They just don't. So many people already know of Blizzard. A new Diablo game? Just do a little bit of organic marketing. Get some, like, people known in the community, and that's it. Don't get, like, every celebrity known to man making a collaboration. Most of your players just will not care. It's wasted money. It's going to be funny for 30 seconds.
A big deal for them. It was either going to make or break the company moving forward, and they were ready to show the world what they had in Diablo 4.
It's all of it is cool, like, don't get me wrong, but I think it's just a waste of resources.
At least, that's what we thought. On June 1st of 2023, the early access launch of Diablo 4 finally arrived. It doesn't matter too much how amazing a game is or even how well received it is. Shareholders, executives, and accountants want to know how well a game is selling.
Which, by the way, Diablo 4 was an incredible game. An incredible game. Ooh, it was so good. Oh, it was so good. It was so good.
They revealed that in just 5 days, sales of Diablo 4 had surpassed $666 million in revenue, estimating nearly 10 million game copies sold. Not even including the additional microtransactions so heavily apparent inside the game.
Then you hit level 55. I'm not talking about the game. I'm talking about them sweet doubloons.
In corporate eyes, Diablo 4 was booming, and
Yep.
it was nothing short of a monumental success.
It was so good.
It became officially Blizzard's fastest-selling game of all time.
Oh, it was so good.
Activision Blizzard...
And this is exactly what I mean. Have you noticed the trend? Look at World of Warcraft. Fastest selling expansion. Fastest selling expansion. Suddenly no more fastest selling expansion. And now it's like expansion with the longest retention. Funny how that works, huh? How you can only go so far with you know, just pushing your players to the limit. When you start releasing subpar products, suddenly people might start to buy them. Or rather stop to buy them, not start to buy them. Funny how that works. I'm curious to see how Diablo 4 turns out in the long run, because the Diablo community has now also been burned. A lot.
Was back on top, right? Well, that statement couldn't have been more untrue. Shortly after launch, the internet was flooded with reviews about Diablo 4. The early game, being relatively good from a gameplay perspective, quickly dissipated as people headed into the end game. Because the truth is, Diablo 4 had no innovation and nothing truly creative toward the ARPG genre.
Yes.
And Blizzard simply took no risks. Tree of Whispers are the same thing as bounties from Diablo 3. They kept the same generic gambling systems. Paragon boards are just stolen content from Path of Exile and Vulcan.
Steal everything from Path of Exile. Steal everything from Last Epoch. Steal everything from every single game you've ever made before. Steal it all and make a good game. And I will buy it. Shamelessly steal it all. Go for it.
Nightmare
I
Dungeons
don't care.
are just riffs from Diablo 3. The new
Problem is that they're not good. I don't care that they're from another game. Problem is that it's not good.
free choice leveling is the same thing as Diablo 3's adventure mode. Nothing here was brand new or innovative. It was the same reused and recycled content and
Which, by the way, that is exactly why WoW was successful in the first place. It took things that worked in the MMO genre, put all of them together, and actually made them good. That's the only reason why WoW exists. It was literally a mishmash of things that already existed, but just better. That is the best thing about going into a genre, when already some people have already done it, you know? I've been thinking Riot might become that company soon. Because they're expanding to a lot of things. And they have a lot of good people over at Riot. We'll see.
fans were simply bored of it within a few weeks' time. The most common mistake we see from games with lack of endgame presence is they make the grind to max level longer, so it gives them time to come up with something new. And what did Blizzard do? Exactly just that. One by one, they were going across the board and nerfing dungeon farms to permit anyone from leveling to...
This is... I've said this many times before. I think things like these... don't get me wrong, there should be some level of balance, right? You don't want to keep pushing things up and then you're in the billions. That's just goofy. But nerfing things like this, it's like Fun Police. Like, unironically Fun Police. It's been a meme in WoW for a very, very long time. And I think it's literally true. Like, who is hurt from the fact that people can level up faster? No one. Except you who wants to retain them for longer. That's the only problem here. It's completely transparent in what you're trying to do, and that's why people don't like it. It's not that you are... Like, look, if there was a gold exploit and everyone was doing it, people would be perfectly fine in saying, yes, this needed to be fixed, even though I would like to do it. Everyone would want to exploit gold, but we know why it's fixed. Nerfing leveling? Why? This is not a competitive game, it doesn't matter.
quickly from specific dungeons.
This is dumb.
And when that wasn't enough, they completely nerfed elite mob
Which, by the way, the
density.
worst part is that they've completely went back on this now. They've buffed leveling through the roof, which is again the WoW problem of you take things away and then you make them easier to get later on. Why would I play at the start? You've achieved the complete opposite. You've made me not want to play the game until you fix it.
Across the board.
Don't
One
do
of
that.
the most fun aspects of the game. Instead of buffing the lackluster dungeons that were boring and slow, they nerfed the fun ones. They continue to do this with nearly everything
Very good point. Nerfing leveling also means people are less likely to roll alts, which means they quit the game sooner. Yes.
in the game moving forward. Build diversity was the same result. Across all classes, you could see a clear-cut pattern in people using the same exact builds.
I've said this before. Also, I've many times with MMOs. This is just internet culture nowadays. There is no way to get around this. The thing is, if these abilities were 0.0001% stronger than the rest, people would use them. They would. They would. Just because it's the best. Nowadays, in games that require math, there is no number 2, there is no number 3, there is no number 4. There is just the best, and then there is bad. Everything, like, all of these games are that. I don't think any amount of balance can get rid of this. Unfortunately.
Over and over again. Instead of buffing weak abilities to bring them in line with the strong ones, they simply nerfed the abilities that were performing too well, making everything feel...
I think this is fine. I don't want things getting buffed up. To a certain extent, sure, you can buff things, but don't buff everything. I don't want the floor to be constantly moved up. I don't. Just adjust things on the opposite side. Pulling the floor up will result in Diablo 3 and people hitting for trillions of damage. I don't want that.
boring. And with the price...
Which also, again, Koroto talks about WoW. Is the same exact stuff we've seen in World of Warcraft. There was a point in WoW where they had to split up. It was Siege of Orgrimmar. They had to split up the final boss because the engine couldn't render the number. Like, the engine literally couldn't show the number of its health bar, so the boss had to be split up in 2 phases. That is what you get with constantly going up and up and up and up. I think it's much better to tune things down, but just adjust them to still be fun.
Price of recost and the non-existence of skill loadouts or a
I don't want
dual
billions.
specialization system in play, it was too risky to constantly be testing out and theory crafting new builds. It was too tedious to respec hundreds of Paragon points manually one by one and
Yes, this makes no sense. The fact that you can't just click a button and just reset everything makes no sense.
flat out too expensive. Having to grind out countless legendary aspects, uniques, and perfect affix rolls on every piece of gear was something that took too much time. By this time, players were reaching level 65 plus, and the level pacing drastically slowed down, and so did the excitement of good loot rewards as well.
So the problem with Diablo 4 is that after you spend about 80 hours into the game, all of the gear upgrades that you can get are so minimal, there's nothing else to do.
So the time it took to level vastly increased, and the rewards and purpose for leveling became so much smaller.
BOE has a site you can look up build popularity and filter based on classes, insanely diverse. But doesn't Path of Exile also have a very diverse set of things you can do? So if you want to clear the map, you would use a different build as opposed to killing a boss, right? Diablo just doesn't have that. So like all the builds are very homogeneous, if that makes sense. And it's the same thing for WoW, right? If you look at Mythic Plus builds, they will be exactly the same. If you look at Raid builds, they'll be different from Mythic Plus builds, but they will also be almost exactly the same. You know? I think WoW is in a bit of a better place when it comes to that. But the point I'm getting across is just that, like, if the game is homogeneous, so will the balance. There is nothing you could do with the balance in a mostly samey game that people won't figure out. People will optimize fun out of the game, and you must understand that. If you understand the fact that your players are trying to make themselves just do everything by numbers, you can probably design a better game around that. It's like 100 builds for killing bosses, 100 for clearing maps, 100 for each various league mechanics. Yeah, well, I have no idea. I'm just like guessing from an outsider's perspective, so I'd have to look at that more. But generally, I do think it's still true. Like, people will find the best option.
It's very obvious to everybody now that Diablo 4 has no endgame and it was heavily front-loaded. The minor endgame testing, mixed with the constant changing of development teams and major lack of inexperience and workplace professionalism, was finally starting to take its toll. During this time, the in-game cash shop is being flooded with skins and cosmetic options available for purchase, even some cases
Imagine buying a skin for $25.
where the cosmetic armor bought with real money would be bugged and not even appear on your character. The hardcore player-based drama
How much you want to bet that this was fixed instantly?
is at an all-time high, with players dying constantly to server instability, disconnects, and things being completely out of their control through bugs and poor optimization of the game. Even worse, to confirm your place as a winner in the race, you had to tweet the Diablo Twitter account a Diablo 4 hashtag, your full battle net and battle tag, and lastly, a picture proving you reached level 100.
Yeah, I saw this. I was confused by this. The way I thought about this, they clearly have, like, obviously, they have a list of every single player in the game. They have all the data they need to do this on their end, right? So, what this is a marketing stunt. They want you to tweet this at them so that they get, like, organic engagement, right? Which is fine. I understand that. But then people weren't included on the statue, which implies that they didn't use their actual 100% fact-based database, but they used Twitter. Why? They literally had irrefutable evidence of people who got to 100. But they didn't use that. They used the Twitter. To be fair, they did fix this, and I think everyone who deserved to be on the statue got to it eventually, but it doesn't make any sense.
The amateur middle school system of confirming a challenge so important that hundreds of thousands of people are participating in ends up being a massive mistake, and they make errors announcing the wrong winners. This showed a major lack of effort and care and a multi-billion-dollar...
I have literally zero problem with them wanting to tweet at them. I don't care. Sure, it's funny, goofy. But they had the evidence. They literally knew who had to be on the statue. That's my problem. It's like, if you just wanted the funny, goofy tweets, sure, but then use actual data, you know? They wanted to reward the people who engaged in social media and boosted their engagement, I guess, but even that they messed up.
Dollar company, and once again, amateur or brand new developers making huge mistakes, skating by and doing things just good enough once again. There were even several websites out there that tracked the progress of the hardcore characters with having zero budget, so surely Blizzard could have done it themselves. It became too difficult to manage.
I mean, it's not even surely, it's literally impossible to run a multiplayer game without having data on your players, you know? They probably know everything about it.
Storage inside of a full loot ARPG game. Between gems, legendaries, and aspects, rare items, uniques, inventory was quickly flooded within minutes of grinding out a single dungeon, and players demanded more room for their other characters. When Blizzard finally responded over a month later, they stated they couldn't add more because it creates a lot of memory overhead. When you see another player in game, you load them and their entire...
I still think the funniest thing about this is that it's so dumb, it can't be a lie. It's so dumb. It literally couldn't be made up.
Entire stash filled with all of their items. Things like a gem tab, leaderboard, stash tabs, loot filters, ability loadouts, all announced to be added in future expansions, sometimes as far as 6 months to a year from now. 1 month after the game launches, they hosted a developer live stream bringing us all some crucial updates.
Which, by the way, I'm gonna go on a quick tangent. You know what has been really bothering me recently? And I really hope this doesn't turn out to be the case with Diablo as well. What's been alarming to me is I think Diablo 4, it will get a lot of updates, and eventually it will be a better game. Whether or not it's an actual, like, very good ARPG is yet to be seen, but I do think they'll keep updating it. It's going to get multiple expansions, that much is clear. We'll see how it turns out, right? It will get better to some extent. But what's been really bothering me is that a lot of people have started dabbling in, I guess it's just revisionist history, and saying, like, no, I actually always knew Cyberpunk was a good game. It wasn't. You can say that the game is good now, but you don't need to say that it was always good, because I think that is normalizing exactly what's going on now. Literally selling an incomplete product with the promise of fixing it later. I really, really don't like this. The fact that people are now saying, like, a lot of these, like No Man's Sky, for example, is another one. No Man's Sky, when it released, was horrible. It's a great game now, but it was bad. So this has been a bit of an alarming trend that I really don't want to see happen, you know? Let's see what happens with Starfield, because a lot of people also have problems with Starfield, and those are already sort of like, yeah, but modders will fix it, which is a fair thing to say, but I don't think it should really be the norm, if that makes sense.
Calm the community down. To kick off the show, they gave us a 30-minute segment on their new Diablo Immortal class.
Let's be honest, everyone didn't like this, but this was announced beforehand. You knew exactly what you were getting. It was announced. We all knew it.
The Blood Knight, and the whole lore behind the
Which, by the fact that we don't have a Blood Knight in Diablo 4 is criminal, frankly.
Game right now. They also finally showed off the Battle Pass monetization and the seasonal blessings that are implemented to help us quickly gain crafting materials, gold, and experience points more efficiently. This is in regard to having us create whole new characters inside of seasonal realms. And believe it or not, those completely backfired as well. When you spent Smoldering Ash to increase the amount of gold or materials that you would gain, there was a bug that would increase the amount of costs of everything as well by the same exact percentages. So it became nothing but an illusion of choice. And to even acquire all of your Smoldering Ash, you actually had to obtain max level to acquire them all, leaving you a system that is nothing but broken and contradictory. Only half of your renown carried over, and half of the brand new content and class changes in Season 1 was locked to the seasonal realms and was forbidden on the Eternal realm.
I think this was a very big communication issue. The fact that a lot of people just didn't know how ARPGs work. That's like the thing. We memed about Diablo 4 being a huge success, but this alone proves just how big of a success it was, because it got people who had never even played on Seasons. Even though Seasons were a thing back in Diablo 3, Seasons were a thing back in Diablo 2, Diablo 1 pretty sure didn't have Seasons, but Seasons have been a thing for the longest time, and it is literally just the norm of how the game works. So, this, I think, was a very big communication issue. Problem with this is also the fact that they gated content off of the Eternal Realms. I don't think they should have. I think that they should have just put everything in the actual game, and it would have been fine. Most people wouldn't have cared. But the whole seasonal thing is kind of a goofy little outcome that happened. And I don't really think that's really a Blizzard problem. I think it's kind of a communication. Well, I mean, it is a Blizzard problem, but, you know, not one I would consider very pressing.
Meaning that if you wanted all of these brand new changes and updates, you had to start all over and create a whole new character. You were then forced to go onto Seasonal Realms, and players were quickly flooded with additional monetization. They even coincidentally made the paid accelerated battle pass button the largest icon and glow red on the homepage. They also coincidentally didn't add a confirmation button so that if you accidentally clicked it, you spent your money without
This was in the
any
Actman video,
warning.
yeah.
Bugs even went rampant through Season 1, with people having the ability to trade hundreds of millions of gold, legendaries, and even unique items between the Eternal and Seasonal realms, completely destroying hard-earned player progression. By this point, players were at their limit. Metacritic scores plummeted, and the
Yikes. I mean, obviously, I said this also with Overwatch. Obviously, this is not representative of the game's quality. It's not. But it's still funny.
Population slowly dwindled down to nothing within a week of Season 1 being launched. And with the final nail in the coffin, Larian Studios released Baldur's Gate 3 on August 3rd of 2023. Easily being the frontrunner for the game of the year, it knocked Diablo 4 out.
I'm gonna play Baldur's Gate. I'm thinking of playing it around Christmas. I might play the whole thing on stream. We'll see what happens. But I really want to play Baldur's Gate. I still know next to nothing about it. And I want to play it. We'll see when. I'm definitely thinking about playing it, though. But the funny thing about this is that Baldur's Gate 3 has nothing to do with Diablo, but that's the beautiful thing about games. When there are good games, bad games suffer. And it doesn't really even matter what genre they are. People have been saying this a lot with 2023. There are just too many games people want to play. So if your game is bad, people will move on and play a different genre. And the fact that this is a CRPG and people play it is perfectly fine, I think just demonstrates that so beautifully. It's great.
Game had longer
For me, the last part is funny how trade between standard destroyed economy, there is no economy in the game. Also true. It plays even better when you know nothing about it. I've heard yes. I've heard people spending like 130 hours on a single campaign, knowing me it's probably going to be 500 hours, but we'll play it at some point.
Playability, no egregious monetization, good developers, better RPG aspects, innovative design with stable servers, and a real character.
Which, by the way, Baldur's Gate is also still getting big updates, from what I've heard. So when I play it, it's going to be even better. Is Diablo going to be even better? Only time will tell.
Creator and gameplay sections with freedom of choice throughout your entire playthrough. Most of these things Blizzard used to take pride in, but those days are now over. A game that just a few months ago had a population of almost 7 million concurrent active.
I said this at the top of the video. I think this number is not true. Blizzard does not release numbers. This is extrapolated from somewhere. Don't look at this.
Players at once has now lost more than 9.
This I don't think is also correct, but it's definitely in the 90s. I'm 100% certain that it is in the 90%. Probably not 99.34. I don't buy that. I don't. 90 something? Probably.
99% of its total population and is shrinking more and more by the day. So what was the exact cause of Diablo 4's failure? Was it the constant change in development teams before launch day? The loss of key figures within the company due to the allegations and walkouts? Developers disliking the game they're creating and the increased malice between leaders and company team members? Was it the constant delays, the microtransactions being forced onto players? Or is it just the simple fact that Blizzard has completely lost its touch and the era of this once King of Kings is now over? No one really knows exactly. But one thing is for sure.
I think it is a death of a thousand cuts. I think Blizzard has lost its vision. Very much so. I think the fact that Diablo 3 exists, like purely Diablo 3, everything about it is not Diablo. I think they've lost their vision in many, many, many ways. Hopefully Chris Metzen has now returned to WoW. So at least the vibe should go back to what it was, to some extent. So we'll see what happens there. But I do think that, obviously, the lawsuit, they're bleeding talent, that is undeniable. Everything around that, though, I do think it is a bit of a, is the simplest way of putting it. I think they've just lost their vision for what the games are actually supposed to be.
Sure. No game in history has had almost 7 million concurrent active players at one time, and within a couple months, get reduced down to less than 40,000 active players throughout the entire day. A 99.4% loss in player base count. This is why Diablo 4 is the biggest disappointment in recent gaming history.
Definitely recent gaming. Not sure if gaming history, period. I don't think it's the most disappointing thing.
Hopefully heading into 2024, they can bring loads of improvements into the game and maybe flip the script on this whole situation.
The problem is that these dudes are just reskins, you know? This isn't even content. These are just reskins.
Just maybe we can have a solid ARPG to play. But just remember, the new Path of Exile is on its way, and it could very well be too late. Have you played Diablo 4? What are your thoughts and feelings? What do you think is the biggest mistake they made? Let me know in the comment section below.
Have you played Diablo 4? Yes. What are your thoughts? Campaign good, everything else bad. What was the biggest mistake they made? They didn't finish developing the game.
I want to give another massive thank you to our YouTube channel members who support the channel directly and keep this dream alive. You all allow me to create longer, more fulfilling content for you like this one. I really love making content like this, and if you guys enjoyed it, please be sure to like, leave a comment, or even share.
This hurts. This is me. Just like me, for real, for real. I have the same exact thing. People, click the nice button. Click the nice button.
Share the video, as I would love to bring you all more content like this in the future. Until the very end, my name is Sky from the Comeback Kids, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace.
That was a very good video. Very good video. I think it covered most points very well. I mean, yeah, if they want to fix the game, I think they need to fundamentally just redesign the entire endgame. I think they just need to add more interesting things to do. Some sort of permanent progression would be very cool as well, though I can't even see how they do that. I genuinely don't see much point in trying to compete with Path of Exile, for example, because they just can't. Like, Path of Exile is infinitely more complex. They have a smaller team, which actually turns out to work in their favor because they are actually agile and can make changes, whereas Blizzard needs like 6 months to add one button. I don't know. I want Diablo 4 to succeed because I like the game. It looks cool. I like Diablo. I really like Diablo. But, you know. We'll see what happens. I'll link the video. It's a very, very good video. The numbers are probably not... Like, the number I keep getting stuck up on is like the 6 million concurrent players. I don't buy this. 6 million concurrent players? Just no. No. Like, what? Counter-Strike has peaked at like 1.5 million, I think. No shot. 6.7 million? No. No. So, the number is probably not right, but the point is very much true. So yeah, a very good video. Give it a like. I'll link it in chat right now. Which, by the way, this is a whole nother topic. Content creators leaving Diablo. Because a lot of people thought Diablo would be something that they can, like, build a career on. Which is the saddest part. I've told the story before. I almost made a channel centered around World of Warcraft. One day, I'll show you some of the videos that will come out. That came out in the Dark Ages of Koroto. There are a few videos. There are also a few videos that have nothing to do with WoW. There are like 2 Don't Starve videos that are fully edited and everything. One day I'll release them. I still have them. The Diablo 4 situation, mega sad. I hope it gets better.